About the pastimes and characteristics of Vasudeva Krishna.
Questions about the pastimes.
Shrotrim and between them. The listeners hearing about the topics. Tatpada Saridam Yata. Exactly as the entire world is purified by the Ganges water emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu. Translation: the Ganges emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu purifies the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Similarly, when one asks questions about the pastimes and characteristics of Lord Vasudeva Krishna, three varieties of men are purified: the speaker or preacher, he who inquires, and the people in general who listen. We do it responsibly now?
We can all read it together.
Okay, together. The Ganges emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu purifies the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Similarly, when one asks questions about the pastimes and characteristics of Lord Vasudeva Krishna, three varieties of men are purified: the speaker or preacher, he who inquires, and the people in general who listen. Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is said, Tasmad Gaurung Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam, Bhagavatam 11.3.21. Those interested in understanding transcendental subject matters as the goal of life must approach the bona fide spiritual master. Tasmad Gaurung Prapadyeta. One must surrender to such a guru who can give right information about Krishna. Herein, Maharaj Parikshit has surrendered to the right personality, Shukadeva Goswami, for enlightenment in Vasudeva Katha. Vasudeva is the original personality of Godhead who has unlimited spiritual activities. Srimad Bhagavatam is a record of such activities, and Bhagavad Gita is the record of Vasudeva speaking personally. Therefore, since the Krishna consciousness movement is full of Vasudeva Katha, anyone who hears, anyone who joins the movement, and anyone who preaches will be purified. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So I noticed, looking back, that Shukadeva has just praised Parikshit Maharaj because he's asking such a nice question, and he's greatly attached to the topics of Vasudeva. And today he's giving a more general understanding about the potency of Vasudeva Katha, or we say Krishna Katha. And the comparison is, the image here is the Ganges, Ganga Mai, which flows from upper to middle to lower planetary systems. I remember once hearing a radio program. Actually, it was a series of chapters, or a series of episodes in the program, and it was all about a journalist in India. He went from Gangotri, up in the Himalayas, and then he was following the Ganges course down, till finally it got to the Bay of Bengal. And he wasn't a theist, but he wasn't an atheist either. He was just a journalist trying to understand, because he'd grown up in India, what is all this praise of the Ganges and what is all this. He might have even used the word mythology or whatever. What is it about the Ganges that's so special? I know the British, when they were taking their ships back to England, this is before airplanes, of course, they would only bring Ganges water because it was the only water that wouldn't decompose. It was good. They could drink it, for weeks and weeks and not get sick or whatever. So anyway, this journalist, and every time the episodes were based on famous stops, like there's Benares and places like that. So in every place, he took samples of the Ganges. And he noticed that it had a quality that was kind of like self-purifying. And it was mysterious to him. And ultimately, I think when he got down to the Bay of Bengal, he was kind of like a believer. Okay, there is something special about this river that I can't, because he had it analyzed too by chemists. What is it about the Ganges that's, ultimately he couldn't reduce it to physical properties. Here it says emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu. We know from Shastra why it's pure. It's because it's emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu. And he didn't go so far as to say that, because he wasn't really a committed theist. But he was saying that this is mysterious. There's a mystery. Just like our Bhaktivedanta Institute devotees, they know, because they're devotees, that ultimately life comes from life, and there's this consciousness can't be reduced to the laws of material nature. And they talk about the mystery. Let's discuss the mystery with other scientists and philosophers and religionists. So now we really understand from Shukadev, from Shastra, why it's so purifying. But then he says, in the second part of the verse, Vaktarang Pachakang Shrotrings, that similarly, when one asks questions about the pastimes and characteristics of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, it's even more purifying. 3 varieties of men are purified. Wow. The speaker, he's speaking. And Shukadev, how long, you remember Shukadev's little history? How long was he in the womb?
16.
Yeah, 16 years. And why was he in the, isn't that pretty inconvenient? Can you imagine being pregnant for 16? Poor Jabali, right? Vasudev's wife. Why?
Because he didn't want to come out in the material world.
Didn't want to get entangled. Because he was Brahman realized in the womb, so he knew. But then he heard, and finally, why did he come out?
He heard the pastime of Putana. He heard the pastime of Putana.
Son of,
Pastime of Putana.
oh, okay. I didn't even know that. That was the specific pastime? Yeah.
Actually, Krishna came and convinced him to come out.
Yes. Because he heard Krishna Katha, and this was more, that's the whole purport of the Atma Rama verse in the first canto, I think. Atma Ramas Chamunayo. Even people who are fixed in Atma and Brahman realization, they become attracted when they hear about Krishna. Yeah, because Brahman realization is only the beginning of realization, right? Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. There's the sunshine, there's the sun, and then there's the sun God. The 3 phases of realizing the absolute truth. Prabhupada would give that analogy. So yeah, he came out. And then what happened when he came out?
Went straight to the forest.
And he passed by a place where who was bathing?
Female.
Females. And so when he passed, as soon as they saw him, they could understand. He didn't make a distinction between male and female, so they didn't bother to cover themselves or anything. But when Vyasadeva, what happened? And he's a literary incarnation of God. He's an empowered jiva to write. Right? They covered themselves because in the household or ashram, you have to make distinctions. You can't just say to your wife, well, we're married now, we're all spirit soul, toodaloo. So they covered themselves, yeah. And then he wandered, and then by Krishna's arrangement, he went to the Ganges. And Parikshit had already gone there, and he was asking the sages, what should I do? I just got cursed. And he could have counteracted the curse, as Prabhupada told us, because he was pure devotee, has all mystic power. And he was only 27 years old, in the full bloom of youth, and he had it all, right? He had youth, beauty, power, kingdom, followers. But as soon as he got bit by the, or cursed by Shringi, he was okay. He's pure devotee. Okay, let's go home right now. Let's get out of here. But he knew he had to prepare his consciousness. So he had to, he was asking sages, what should I do? And then Shukadev walked in. And as soon as Shukadev walked in, even though the place was full of Narada Muni was there, Lord Shiva was there, yeah? You see the painting? Is it here? Yeah, there they are. Narada Muni, Lord Shiva, all these great sages, maybe Vashishta's there, or, all these. Okay, you hear from him. They immediately because they were so qualified, they could see this person. And so there's Shukadev. Don't imitate this, Prabhus. He's speaking from the Vyasasana, and he's naked. We don't do that, right? Okay, and Parikshit Maharaj he's asking questions. Okay, so, speaker, preacher, everybody benefits. So that's the beauty of Krishna Katha. It's so powerful. Even if you go to the Ganges, what's that verse? That if you go to Salile Nakar Hichid Janesh for Bigyesh, how does that verse start? Is that, yeah, thank you. Yes, Yatma Buddhi Kunape Tridhatu. If I think that this myself is the same as this body, what's the word for bag there? Kunape? I think so. Tridhatu, air, bile, and mucus. If I think that's me, Svadikalatrarishu bhauma ijadhi. And if I think, Kalatra, that's wife, yeah? Or bhauma ijadhi is the land where I took birth is worshipable. If I think that's, just because I was born there, and you hear this all the time. This is the source of nationalism, right? All the wars are practically fought over this misidentification with the body and the place where the body arose, whether it's Israel or the Palestinians or the Ukrainians or the Russians or the Americans. Now it's the Americans against the whole world, right? Boma ijidi. And then what's the next word? Salile naka, I forget how that line starts. Yes, well, before that, Salile Nakar, if you go to the place to the holy place, only to take a bath, including the Ganges, only to take a bath. Janesh Fabigeshu Saeva Gokara, then you're no better than a cow or an ass. One of the few times that you hear the cow actually put in a derogatory light, usually the cows are praised. But after all, it's a dumb animal, and it doesn't. It's not spontaneously attracted. Usually, sometimes there are different special cows that can be attracted if they're like the deer, like Bharat Maharaj when he was a deer. he wasn't an ordinary deer, because he remembered what happened to him in his previous birth. So he used to hang out where the sages were and listen, because he had that jati smara. He could remember what happened in his past. Okay. Saeva gokara. No better than a cow or an ass. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, this kind of was sprung on me, so I didn't really prepare anything. But let me look at the purport again. Surrender to the right, yeah. One must surrender to such a guru who can give right information about Krishna. Yeah, not just any guru. Guru just means teacher, but it's got to be the right teacher, right? Somebody who can, who can actually bring us to the right point of enlightenment. About Vasudeva. Where is Vasudeva in the Gita? 7:19. Anybody know by the numbers? I forget how the verse starts myself now. It's Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Yeah, how does that start? After many births and deaths, one who is in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Bahunam. Thank you. Ante. Yes. After many births, surrenders unto me, knowing to be the cause of all causes and all that is, and such a great soul, Sabahatma Sudurlabha, is very rare. So we don't just surrender to anybody. In the 1960s, there was a famous rishi named Maharishi, Mahesh Yogi, and he was giving mantras for how much did he charge? $35. US. And then it was secret. And then including when the Beatles went to see him in Rishikesh, they also got their mantra. And then later on, when they got disillusioned with the Maharishi, they all checked with each other. Hey, by the way, what was your mantra, George? And they all have the same mantra. You'd think at least if you paid $35, it should be unique, right? But no. But Prabhupada didn't charge. He just gave it out freely. And you get Krishna Prem. Because he's the right person. You're going to see in the seminar series, lesson 3, it's basically based on the third volume of Lilamrita. It's called Only He Could Lead Them. Yeah. And there's especially one dramatic scene where the devotees are with Prabhupada. He's gone to San Francisco. He followed the counterculture trail from New York to San Francisco, and Krishna put him in just the right places at just the right time. It was uncanny, because he was surrendered to the will of the Lord. So the Lord just took charge of Prabhupada's itinerary and timing and and so so Prabhupada had gone out because he had that heart attack and stroke in just around Memorial Day time. And then to get better, he tried to go to the Jersey Shore. Didn't work. It was very blustery, even though it was early June. The weather wasn't good. So the devotees in the West Coast, where he had come, he had spent from January to April with them in '67. And then they said, "Oh, Swamiji, come on out to the West Coast. Come on out to sunny California. And surely you will get better." And Prabhupada said, "Okay. And we're going to have Ratha Yatra, so you can be there for our Ratha Yatra." So we got out there, but has anybody ever been to the San Francisco Bay Area? You've been? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you walk across the Golden Gate?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And we followed the trail of the Ratha Yatra route.
Oh, okay.
Right to the ocean side.
Okay. From 518 Frederick Street to? Yeah, to, wow. Okay. I think that was before Golden Gate. Did you go through Golden Gate?
Oh,
Park?
yeah, we walked it.
I mean, the park.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, but San Francisco, even in the summer, it's not really that warm there.
Oh, God, it's the worst.
There's a famous writer, you've heard of Mark Twain?
Yeah,
He had a famous quote.
yeah.
The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. He was famous for these humorous quips, you know. So anyway, Prabhupada got out there and they took him across the bridge from San Francisco in Marin County. They took him there to a place called El Paradiso, up through the mountains and then overlooking the sea in a nice Spanish bungalow. But that also, the weather wasn't so good. But anyway, so the weather wasn't good because, you know, by the time the fog, the sun burns off the fog and then there's mountains, he wasn't getting much sun at all. So Prabhupada Swamiji, as they were calling him, said, you know, this isn't working. If I'm to get better, I really have to go back to India for a while for its bracing heat and its Ayurvedic massage and medicine, and I know with that, that's all I need. And he was right. He left and he flew back to New York and he flew out, and he was gone from July to December, and he came back looking even more robust. But when he was there in El Paradiso, there was a few devotees with him. He couldn't even go to the Rath Yatra. He was still so sick. He just heard about it when they came later, and he was so enlivened by the reports. And what was the vehicle in the first Rath Yatra?
It was a pickup truck.
It was a flatbed Hertz rent-a-truck. With just a flatbed, you know, coming out. There was a cab and then a flatbed. And then they had the deities, you know, Subhadra Maharani was facing straight out, and then Baladev was kind of facing that way, and Jagannath is facing that way, and it was, it was fun. And then the Shamsundar and Gurudas were in the cab, and there was something wrong with the truck. So there was oil, there was like billowing smoke coming in the cab, and so they had to roll down the windows and take a breath of, but it was cold, so then they were rolling up the windows, and then off the back, there was Malati and Jamuna were sitting on the flatbed. Malati's been here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did she tell you what happened to them that day?
I don't recall.
Okay, they were you know, chanting Hare Krishna right off the flatbed, right? And it was pretty long. It was a long route. So then some people in the crowd were giving them drinks. And so they gladly accepted. But the drinks were laced with LSD.
Oh, God.
And they recognized it from their previous experience, what they started to experience. So they very smartly disembarked from the flatbed, and they just sort of took some rest, you know, just to let the trip pass, because they weren't into that anymore. They were staying high forever by chanting Hare Krishna, but they didn't want to be disoriented, you know. And, so, now how did I get into that? Ooh, where were we?
Where was I?
Yeah, where was I?
And why? And why? Because he cannot help himself, he must.
Mommy! Do you do mommy too?
Yeah.
That guy was great. He stole the show in Mayapur. Mommy. What was his name?
Praying.
Prem.
Because.
Prem Vikas, yeah. And the funny thing is, he played, you know, ignorance. But when you talk to him, he was pretty erudite. I had some pretty philosophical conversations with him. All right, I digress. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is a record of such activities. Yeah, so this is This is where we get our prashnas. This is where we read, and then Prabhupada has his purports. That's the most impressive thing, really, about Krishna consciousness, is that not only answers all the questions you ever asked, but no priest or no philosopher or no anybody could answer, but it poses questions you never thought of, right? And so it's so comprehensive, so scientific, and so spiritual. And it makes sense. Like I was sharing how, I forget who I was talking to, but my story of how I came and the whole thing in Toronto Temple at 40 Beverly. When I read those Achintya Beta verses in chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text 3 and 4, by me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. And then the next verse, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, I forget what that, still myself is the very source of creation. So Krishna's, he's inconceivably and simultaneously one with and different from the creation. And that was a philosophy that made complete sense out of everything. And I could once again breathe. Ah, wow. Okay, I'm in. I'm joining Prabhupada's army. Forget the U.S. Army. Okay, I'm going to read the verse again. If you have any questions, comments, reflections, please raise your hand. The Ganges emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu purifies the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Similarly, when one asks questions about the pastimes and characteristics of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, three varieties of men are purified. The speaker, he who inquires, and the people in general who listen. Everybody's benefits. Jai. Maharaj.
Very well. Yeah, thank you. It's nice to hear about that. Journals, we walked along about that. And,
I think he took a boat, actually.
oh, we took a look. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, these long journeys are really, they bring about a lot of epiphanies and revelations. So before I started the different marathon walks, one of my friends, Abai, I don't know if you know Abai.
Abai, yeah.
Abai, he's from Toronto.
Yeah, I know him.
His mom was Catholic and his father was Jewish.
Yeah, I know him very well.
From Forest Hill. Yeah, he told me that because he was part of the Padiyatra group,
Uh-huh.
He said he did some reading up and, research on people who did long walks because Padiyatra was about walking long.
Yeah.
And he said, anybody who did a long journey like that, if they were agnostic, by the time they were finished, they believed in God.
Wow.
Anything that he read up on these, episodes by people. So
Just by beholding the creation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Going long distances and becoming humbled by the elements and so on like that. So it's very therapeutic,
Ooh.
We went to cuddle cows yesterday for therapy purposes, but this is another therapy. Instead of going on flying to Las Vegas and losing your money or going to Bali or something like that, better to just go on a long walk and camp out and really feel that you are a spirit soul. I'm small, I'm tiny, I'm insignificant, but I'm there to do some service.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. And Krishna says there's a whole chapter in the Gita about seeing him in nature, the opulence of the Absolute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great inspiring. Yeah, when you do these long journeys like that chapter comes alive.
Uh-huh.
Because people always wonder, I don't see God. Where is God? Okay, go for a long journey, you'll see him.
Okay. Well, that's why people go on. That's what Narada did, right? He left when his mother died, and then he just went. He heard from the Bhaktivedantas, and he just by hearing from them, he became fearless, and he just was, even though he was just a little boy, he became Narada Muni.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Any other
There must be.
questions?
Thank you so much. In the last line of the purport, it's mentioned that anyone who joins the movement and anyone who preaches will be purified. So I just wanted to ask about the qualifications of a preacher, apart from the 4 regulative principles and the 16 rounds. What are some qualifications or duties that a preacher should uphold in terms of his, process of preaching and something of that sort?
Yeah, because it's Prabhupada makes these statements, and then you start wondering, right? Wait a minute. I've been in the movement 55 years. Do I really understand what I'm reading? And am I practicing this? Right? You got to practice what you preach. Let's look at that last sentence. Therefore, since the Krishna consciousness movement is full of Vasudev Kata, that's what it's supposed to be full of. Anyone who hears, anyone who joins the movement, and anyone who preaches will be purified. That's provided that we're full of Vasudev Kata and not full of something else. So, just like this morning, Monil, you said something that was funny. About chanting. You remember? You said, "Tell us what you said." Repeat it.
Actually, Vaishnav Prabhu shared it when he was here. He said, when you're chanting, be aware that you're chanting.
Yeah, well, when you said that, it reminded me of a saying. Sometimes there's a saying we have, maybe I made this up, I forget, but chanting more now and enjoying it less, try hearing. Because if you chant, you know how it is, the mind doesn't want to chant. And Krishna knows that. What is that? 626, Gita. What does that stand? Ooh, those are my Gita verses.
Chanchalam, is that the one?
No, it's a little after.
Yato nishala manas chanchalam.
Yeah, from whatever and wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So you notice during japa, right? It's a constant struggle. As soon as you sit down to chant, the mind wants no part of it. I'm out of here, right? I'm going to the movies. And the movies means the movies of what I want to do, what I want, I'm hankering, or what I've lost, lamenting, hankering and lamenting. What happened in the past and what I want to do in the future. That's what the mind is doing. So Krishna knows that. He anticipates it. So he says, just bring it back. So that means as soon as you bring it back, oh, I'm chanting Hare Krishna. I forgot. I thought I was planning my day, or I thought I was rehearsing an argument with somebody. Just a little thing, what Maharaj said, go take a walk. I remember at New Vrindavan, 1973, at Bahulaban farm. That was the farm you first encountered when you turn left onto McCrary's Ridge Road, Hare Krishna Ridge Road. And so across the road from the temple, there was a big slope. Sometimes we call it the Govardhan Hill. And one day, I remember having a real bad argument I got really mad at somebody. And we just sort of stomped off. We just walked away. We didn't have a fist fight or anything, but we just walked away. And then to cool off, I just took my beads and I walked up this slope. And I just chanted, a few rounds. And it's really high. So when I look back at the spot where this devotee and I were fighting, arguing, everything looks so tiny and insignificant. So I thought, oh, this is silly, So I went back down and I said, Prabhu, I'm sorry. And he said, I'm sorry too. But it was all from going up to the top of the mountain. There's a saying, go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hill and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is Lord. It's a spiritual. See, I'm getting infected by Maharaja's style, right? It's good. It wakes you up. So, yeah, just by walking to the top of that hill. I mean, it wasn't really a mountain, it was just a big kind of slope. It gave me perspective on life, and I was able to cast off the anger and come to my senses. Okay, any other? Whoop. Was that, didn't you just ask something? No? Oh, he did, that's right.
Prabhu,
Should
you
we give the lady a chance first? Is this
Yeah, sure.
equal opportunity?
Prabhu, you mentioned when Parikshit Maharaj was cursed, he just was very detached and he said, okay, let's go back now. So,
Well, that was my colloquial interpretation.
so, and then you said that, but he knew that he had to prepare his consciousness for it. So to that point where you said he had to prepare his consciousness, I was just reflecting that we need to do it before doing any service that we do, like any devotional service that we do. And especially today, like my chanting was very like here and there, and I had to like lovingly neglect my mind again and again. I was wondering, like, how do you prepare your consciousness before chanting?
Oh boy, ask me in 2 weeks, like Gandhi said. Remember the lady said, Mahatmaji, could you please tell my son to stop eating sweets? Okay, ask me in 2 weeks. Then he came back, and then he told, and then she said, well, why did you say that? He said, because then I had to give up eating sweets. So, how do I prepare my consciousness before chanting? Well, at least I'm conscious that I have to beg, because my mind is, the material mind is, it's a reservoir of impressions from eons. So it doesn't happen right away, but it happens with practice. So I just, I bow down, I make a prayer. What do I say? I chant this famous Nama Chintamani Krishnash, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Padma Purana, yeah? Purnak Shuddho Nitya Mukto, Vinatva Nama Namino. The holy name is like Chintamani, like a touchstone. Chaitanya, it's a form of all rasa. Chaitanya Rasa. Purnak Shuddho Nitya Mukto. It's full of all purity. Nitya Mukto, it can liberate. Vinatva Nama Namino, because the name and the named, Krishna and his name are nam different. Nama, Namino. Yeah. So I say that, and then I beg my dear Srila Prabhupada, please help me to chant Hare Krishna this morning with loving attention at your lotus feet. And then the fight begins. The challenge of chanting Hare Krishna and bringing it back, because inevitably the mind does wander. So I'm still trying. As long as you keep trying, then Krishna, then he's pleased. It's the good fight, right? It's not the fight to get sense gratification. It's the fight to surrender to him. Nama prabhu. Yeah. So don't give up. I know you won't. But don't give up, Suresvara. All right, now we're going to go back to the gents.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for the wonderful session. My question is that when you mentioned when Sukdev Goswami entered the assembly, all the sages, they gave him that seat.
Yeah.
So they saw Sukdev Goswami as more qualified than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we do that in our services or anywhere when we are doing something? Mostly it's like, oh, I know better. maybe I should do it. But how do we see other persons like them as more qualified? Maybe they should do it.
Yeah, well, this is the mood of Radharani, right? Oh, Krishna, here's a very nice devotee. So he's much better devotee than I, and she's, nobody's more qualified than Srimati Radharani, right? But, yeah. So that actually is the Goloka mood, or the Vaikuntha mood, that everybody's wonderful. You know, everybody's and Prabhupada, he would like to hear us give Bhagavatam. He would ask people to speak, you know, because he would like to hear how they've been understanding from him, right? And so it was like a proud papa in one sense, you know. He was the papa. So, and then he would, and the girls too. Okay, Malati, you give class, right? You speak. What? Oh, I remember that Kaushalya, she said that Prabhupada asked her one day, this was in one of those pandals. And she said, and now, Prabhupada said, now we're going to hear from Kaushalya Prabhu, not using Prabhu in the gender sense, but in the Vaishnava sense of all the devotees are my masters. Sri Isopanishad, because he knew that she knew all 18 verses, plus the invocation, of course. And that was spontaneous. She didn't know that Prabhupada was going to do that. So there in front of 10,000 people, this American lady, you know, recited Sri Isopanishad, because Prabhupada knew it would blow the Indians away. And so they went, wow, here's a Malecha, born Malecha, reciting the most personal of the Upanishads, and we've even forgotten it, or we don't even know it. So they were impressed. So that was Prabhupada's whole strategy for the Indians to take a second look at their own culture, another look, and stop following the West. Yeah, so the Vaikuntha mood is very empowering. It's very, it's just very encouraging. It's one reason I'll tell you, that's one reason I like ISKCON too, son. Because Sandamani are TP. We have a lady TP. What this movement needs is more grandmothers as TPs. That's my conclusion from living under Sandamani's management for 8 years. She's very empowering. She just knows how to engage people, and she's a good. When you asked the question, I was thinking, is that because you, Prabhu, as a co-director of the academy, because you ask people you assign people duties, right? But then that's an austerity for you, because you know how to do the duty, and maybe better than, it takes more time and effort to teach someone to know how to do the duty, right? So that's the mode of passion. If your duty is to train people, then you can't just out of impatience say, oh, forget it, I'll do it. That's discouraging to the new person, and then you're not doing your duty. So. But it is an austerity because, we are impatient, we are afflicted with Rajatamagun. So be in the mood of the empowerer. You be the empowerer in chief. Okay, I think it's time to... Oh, yes.
Just a quick one. Is it candy? Okay. Perhaps, because the questions relating to how I can start off my japa nicely, and also to your point, I think that the most important shloka for us all to abide by is Trinadapi Sanichana, Tarorapi Sahishna, Amanina Manadina Kiritaniya Sadahari. That if you want to be in the right mindset, then it's take that humble position, be ready to be like a blade of grass, get trampled on, get kicked around. You know, be tolerant like a tree, be ready to offer all respects to others. In such
Yeah.
a state of mind, like that's the right state of mind for anything that we approach devotionally.
Isn't that in CC?
Yeah.
That Haridas Thakur said that.
Hmm.
That's you should hang that mantra
Oh, yeah, I was
around
gonna
your
say
neck
that.
like a garland
Yeah, like a Gayatri, like the thread,
or.
Brahma's thread, or the umbilical cord, which is dependent, your life is dependent on.
Yeah.
But you have to cut the umbilical cord, but that's like a Mayavad thing, isn't it? Yes,
What is that?
always depend on mama and papa. Never, I had a guru, I don't need a guru anymore.
Oh, right. Yeah. Kick them away.
Have you ever seen Jim Carrey's routines about, where he's a grown man, he's got umbilical cord connected to his mother? She's an overbearing woman. It is so funny.
I can imagine Jim Carrey.
People have to limbo under the umbilical cord and jump over. And then if he gets interested in, you know, some lady, then his mother pulls him over. You know?
Wow. Well, that's the real short. The absolute truth spoken concisely is true eloquence. That's the ultimate answer to your question, or to your question, right? About how do you chant? Yeah.
Turn out a be.
Trinadapi. It's the third Shikshastakam. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. And you know, that literally is true because the straw on the street is here. And then what do people do when they want to show humility? Sometimes they take a straw and then they might hold it up, but then the heart, the soul, we are lower than the straw on the street actually. When you take a straw and you try to display humility, then you're lower than the straw on the street.
Jai ho.
Okay. On that note.
Jai ho. Jai ho. Jai ho. Jai ho. Jai ho.
Is that part of the play now?
It's another play.
It's another play. And though he feels as if he's in a play, he is anyway. That's Beatles kata. That's
I don't know that one.
oh, okay.
It's from the bubblegum period.
Penny Lane. It's,
Oh,
it's
that
from
was
Sergeant
the-
Pepper.
Oh, that's the best.